Marsha,
Yeah,
just greetings, salutations.
I can't see you, Don.
You can't.
Nope. I see your name. I don't see your face.
It must have opened without video. I did. Oh, wait. How about now?
There you
Yep.
are. Okay.
Yeah. Jim,
Good morning.
how's it going?
Just fine.
How's sunny California?
Well, no snow.
No, that won't do it. Do it. Come through that.
Craig, this is Don. Hey, I gotta get off real quick. Our assembly meeting starting in 1 minute. But afterwards, I want to give you a call, or you can call me in a couple hours. I had a really good discussion with Tweety just a little bit ago. I want to share with you. Now, more about the future of the District 5 County Commissioner. And also our plan. So anyway, let me call you a little bit later. Okay, we'll do it. Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, these. Bill.
Morning, Don.
Hey, Bill, did you change your name?
I don't know why. Lisa used my computer a couple of times, and it seems to default to her ID instead of mine.
I just couldn't pass on that, Bill.
I have to go in and log on specifically as me. If it just
Okay.
let the email message open it, it defaults to hers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Why don't we get started here? Marsha, could you put up the agenda?
Don, we don't really have an agenda.
Okay. Well, basically what we're going to talk about is snow removal and next door, some problems it's causing. So before I get started on my side, Pat Huddleston is tutoring and won't be able to attend. So she sent a rather long email. I'm going to go ahead and read through it all. Okay, says, hi, I tutor all day today, will not be able to attend, but I have a few thoughts. Number one, both Renee Yeager and Charlie Tolino apparently have experienced plowing and are interested in picking that up. At least Charlie's wife indicated that he had an interest. He hasn't posted anything himself. I would suggest that we explore having one or better both of these folks hired to get the plowing done. Number two, since plowing's needed so infrequently, I suggest that we separate that from the maintenance person's job. We can then contract with them at an hourly wage. I don't know how long it takes to plow the town, Does anyone have an estimate for that? Well, it depends on the amount of snow we get. But I think that the cost would be very low considering we'll need it to have the job done on average about 2 or 3 times per year. At least since I moved here, I think we could really work this into the budget. Unfortunately, we tried this several years back. We were trying to get a backup for Justin. And what we found is if it's not a town employee, our insurance will not cover them. So if they get hurt, the equipment gets hurt, or if they damage someone's vehicle or property, our insurance will not cover them and we would be liable for the cost.
Hey, Don.
Fortunate.
How about if we hire Charlie at $1 per hour?
Who is speaking? Who is
Greg.
speaking? Greg,
This is
you
Greg.
need to wait until you can't just interject. You need to wait till the end of the meeting for the good of the
Okay.
name. Okay. But
Got it,
beyond that,
thanks.
it's not just salary. If you make them an employee, you have to cover insurance, medical insurance. It's a lot more expensive than the wage. The problem with the nasty posts on NextDoor is really unfortunate. I think that an education campaign to help people understand how these posts negative impacts of the town in more appropriate ways might help. Dissatisfaction might help. Often post on how to better express oneself and need for civility, and generally receive a lot of replies that are positive. I suggest we encourage people to step up and do the same. Perhaps we can change the balance of construction versus destructive comments. I also plan to personally message these people who are the problem and open a dialogue about the problems they create in more constructive ways to communicate. I would also like to point out that many comments thanking Drew for plowing. I would remind everyone that the negative comments tend to stand out, while positive ones do not make the impact. Let's concentrate on the positive. I think it's fair to say you can concentrate on the positive. This is my thought. Asking Drew to concentrate on the positive when he's been attacked like that, that's very unfair to say. And number 6, longer our maintenance person and volunteered to plow after being on call all night, they would never have complained. Research has shown that people need to be exposed to a piece of information as many as 10 times before it's learned. Even though Drew's promotion to fire chief was on both NextDoor and our Facebook page and both, sure that we are communicating with our residents in as many ways as positive. Several people have commented that the newsletter has disappeared again. Can we revive that? Is it possible to create a town email list? Look, here's the thing on that last one. As far as not knowing, and this is really my general take on NextDoor, if you attack someone on NextDoor on something going on in the town and you have not bothered to call the town employee, the city manager, the mayor, or anybody on the assembly to find out what's going on or talk to them about the problem, then you are not seeking a solution. You are attacking them for personal gratification. If you want to get a problem solved, you contact the people that are doing the work or that are responsible for them. Putting it on NextDoor is not going to ever solve a problem. It just, like I say, it's attacking for self-gratification purposes. So that was Pat's comments on this. Now, I put together a write-up, a framework for one. I'm going to modify it after we get out of this meeting. In the end, this is kind of an administrative decision, but it impacts everyone in the town. So I wanted everyone on the assembly to have an opportunity to have input into this because, quite candidly, we need to deal with this in a hurry. And, oh, by the way, I just want to note, all of the attacks on Drew, not one of those people bothered to call Drew or the town, the administrator, the mayor, or anyone on the assembly. Okay, so let's put it in perspective. Now, that said, we do have to figure out what we're going to do going forward. After that, Drew is a volunteer. We had some people from the Pueblo up here helping Drew. at that time. And what Drew was doing was a courtesy till we could get a replacement in here. And if we have to hire a replacement from out of town, Drew had agreed to start the snow plowing and then let them take over when they could get into town based on road conditions. That is no longer in effect with the town. Drew said he will provide fire and EMS services to the town as per what their job responsibilities are. But doing other things, just count him out. And quite candidly, it's hard to blame him for that. When we look at going forward, you know, right now we are trying to find a replacement, and this actually puts a whole lot more urgency on getting them in a hurry. But we've only had one applicant before so far. He is living outside the town, although I've heard he might be willing to relocate. But other than that, we've not had other applicants. And quite candidly, rarely do we get a lot of applicants for this job because it's part-time and we're ways out of Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So it really narrows down the pool. This gentleman is aware of the drive, but he also has longer-term goals of getting involved with fire and EMS, which is why he's willing to deal with the long drive to come out here for a part-time job. Now, the day in question when this happened, they had been on calls all night because of accidents and medical emergencies caused by the snow. They got back at 4 a.m. and began plowing the priority roads. We have a prioritization list that we put together several years ago. It's basically similar to what Santa Fe and Albuquerque have, with one exception. What they do and what we do is prioritize the roads based on traffic and risk. And by risk, what we're talking about is the hills. So what we will typically do is Huchanitza first, Barranca, Tahawash, Vuscain. Then we go back down to the suburbs and plow down there because there's a very steep hill going into and out of the town. Then we come back and start hitting more of the side streets. They did not get all of the side streets done before they had to go back out on another emergency, but they did come back and get them all, or it's majority of them, I believe. But again, nobody bothered to call anybody to find out what was going on. They just wanted to attack them. Now, what we've got to do going forward is try and get someone in here early. We have really a couple of alternatives, and that is getting someone in here so we can get them replaced. If they live out of town and it takes them a while to get here, then the roads just are not going to be plowed until they get here. That's just it. We could look at hiring a commercial company to come in and do it. And there's a number of them around. They're not inexpensive. And truthfully, we are not going to be their priority. You know, they're from Santa Fe and Albuquerque. They've got contracts there that are much larger than ours. They will do them, and then they will come out and do us. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to speed things up. Now, 2 years ago, we had 2 foot of snow on New Year's Day, and it did get really icy. I got a lot of calls during the day working with Justin, and I would go down because I've got a Jeep with a winch, and I don't know how many people I pulled up hills or out of ditches that they got stuck in. And I remember the very first person that I pulled out was a nurse returning from Albuquerque. And it was at 8 a.m. and she's coming back from a shift off of a hospital. And, you know, the bottom line is this is going to create some problems for our residents. In this on the plan after we update it after today's meeting. I'm going to personally put out an offer to all of our first responders, and that's fire, EMS, sheriff's deputies, and the healthcare professionals. Because quite candidly, what they've been through the last 2 years, we're not going to stick them with the pain of this any more than we have. They get stuck. or they have a problem getting up a hill, they can call me on my cell and I will come and either winch them out or try and pull them out. But realistically, I can't make this a practice for the whole town. This is something I'm personally doing for these first responders. So that's kind of where we are right now, at least as my thoughts and Pat's thoughts on how we mitigate this. Let's talk about NextDoor itself. When I first moved here, not when I first moved here, when I got on the assembly and became mayor, we started really looking at our financial issues. And our LCAA funding, which is the majority of the money that funds our town, had been being cut for 10 years. We started addressing that problem. And, well, let's put it this way. We had a very, very bad meeting with the Legislative Financial Committee. Cindy and Aiken and I spent 45 minutes of an hour and a half session just talking about our little piece. And I think David Craig was there, and I think he can attest to how bad it was. But that said, afterwards, we got with Dave Abbey, who is the director of the the Legislative Financial Committee staff. And I like Dave. He's gruff, but he's straightforward. And he told me, he says, he says, Don, what part of the problem you have is that with a lot of people up here, the perception of Cochiti Lake is there a bunch of rich white people that want everything given to them for free. And it doesn't matter what reality is. That was a lot of the perception, because we had not been engaged at the State House. We had not been engaged at the county, and that was the perceptions that they had formed. And it created a lot of problems. So we've been focused. I mean, I always try and bring our representatives out here on our events, partly to speak, but partly for them to get to know the community, because there's a lot of people that have these really strange misperceptions about how things get done at the state and county level with government. And they think it's like a vending machine. You go and stick a request in, pull a lever, and your grant drops out or your money drops out. It really does not work that way. It's so much of where the money goes is subjective on where they want it to go. And we've been working on that, trying to educate people on our town by bringing them out here, by communications with different representatives, by going to events. And we had been making progress. And as you had seen, our capital budgets have been going up. We're getting more things from the town, for the town, and our LCAA funding until it got sabotaged a couple of years ago, had gone up to $150,000. It's almost a 33% increase over just a couple of years. We're still trying to recover from that damage, but we'll get there. But here's the problem. I was in Santa Fe the other day getting my hair cut, and the lady cut my hair. We were chatting, and she goes, "You're the mayor of Cochiti Lake, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." My jaw hit the ground. I mean, she's a hairdresser in Santa Fe, but that's what she's hearing about Cochiti Lake. And I will tell you this, that's not the reputation we're striving for. It really isn't. And that word is getting around, and it's not just Santa Fe. It's at the Pueblo. It's just spread around, and it will continue to do that. And our reputation is something we have to manage. And a lot of times people do things without really thinking them through. I mean, right now, we've got a partial proposal out there to put cameras all over town. Well, I wasn't high on that because, to be honest, the plan's not well thought out. But I thought about it afterwards, and I went, in the meeting, we said that, everyone agreed this won't do anything for residents. It's just people coming into town. That's who we need to track. Okay? Think about that. Cochiti Lake's 85% white, and the communities we're worried about are Pena Blanca, Sile, which are 85% Hispanic, and Cochiti and Santo Domingo, Pueblo, which are 100% Native American. So when you step back and look at it and how it will be perceived in the outside world, is we want to track and move. These white people up here want to make sure they keep tabs of and follow the movements of all the brown people coming into town. I mean, that's racism. And to be honest, do we also want to be known as a town where we track everybody's movements? You're out walking the dog, smile, you're on camera and being recorded. You go to your neighbor's house, smile. I mean, it comes across as Orwellian. I will never vote for that, doing something like that, spying and tracking everybody. And the truth is, it will cause no crimes to be prevented. We have 4 deputies that cover the entire county at any given instant. And ours is a huge county that's the fastest growing county. They have violent crime. They have murders, rapes, burglaries, robberies. I'm sorry. They are not going to assign a detective to Cochiti-Lake to go through videos because someone stole a plate or a wheelbarrow or went through some cars that were unlocked. I mean, that's just never going to happen. And no judge would ever issue a search warrant because someone drove through town. And I would be honest with you, I wouldn't want to live any place where they did stuff like that. So it really is not going to, I think, help us. But I will guarantee you, this could really damage our reputation. And we've already got plenty of that stuff going on. Now, I'm going to be putting out a letter personally to all of the residents explaining exactly what kind of damage is being done. And a lot of what I've said here today will be included in it. But I'll be honest with you, the reputation of the town is not something I can do. I can help by bringing people in, but this is not something the town can, the mayor can control, and it is not something the assembly control. This is something the residents of the county have to come together and manage, because quite candidly, it affects every single one of you and our ability to get funding for this town. And you really need to decide what kind of town we live in. I'm sorry to be so severe, but I mean, we had an attack last year on Derek Lente, but organized on NextDoor, where he was flooded during calls during the session. And it was horrible. I mean, our funding, we didn't talk about our funding. Derek was so angry and frustrated in his voice. It was hard to take, but the thing he kept saying to me is, Don, why is your town doing this to me? Now I want you to follow those words. Not why are these individuals doing this to me, but why is your town attacking me? So these individuals, while they're expressing their opinion, they're setting the tone in the future in our ability to get funding to operate the town and our ability to get capital to drive any improvements in the town. We had better come to grips real quick on this. I mean, this was very damaging. And I'll remind you, all of our first responders are Native American or Hispanic, with 2 exceptions. And I saw Denise's on there, Denise Wymore being one. And I will tell you, set in our view, our mood is a bunch of nasty people that attack you when you're trying to help them out, or you want to track all their movements through town. This isn't good for us around this local area. And no, enough said on this. I'll be sending something out in writing to everyone in the community. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But before we move on, I want to lead to each one of the assembly people have a chance to speak and express their opinions or suggestions, because right now, I don't know what else we're going to do. So Bill, or rather Pam, you're Mayor Pro-Tem. Pam,
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Hey, Don. Yeah, you keep cutting out on me. That's why I had to come in on the phone.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I think that, I don't know if you touched on this, about NextDoor not being the forum for our town messaging. I mean, it's not the official site. And I know people are pushing back on Facebook And I did put something out there that said that you don't have to have an account to get to Facebook and you don't need an account. You need an account to get in to look, but you don't need an account to get there, see that it's there and up and running. And it's the official site that the government wants us to use. It's the site that is approved by them, and everybody else uses that site too. So I don't know. I know people are pushing back on it, but it's a good forum for us.
Yeah, it is. And because it was used to orchestrate attacks on the Pueblo and on Derek Lente. And I'll be honest, Derek Lente, Derek and I are friends. We get together for breakfast periodically. Derek wouldn't return my call for months and months. And it was very disturbing. Finally, Craig Barth, and I don't think Craig's on the call. Craig's our Democratic precinct chair. Craig and I wrote a joint letter to Derek apologizing for the disrespectful behavior of the residents of our community, and just apologizing. And we're good with Derek. In fact, Derek has really stepped up to the plate here in the last few weeks, helping us get to deal with some capital issues. But Derek did not take this as a couple. Why is your town attacking me? So when we let things like this happen, we're letting these people speak for all of us. And we need to realize that. I'm sorry, Pam. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, and a lot of the people who are on the NextDoor site aren't on this call.
It's
So,
not surprising.
yeah.
Not
And
surprising.
then don't know. So just saying, that's my piece. That's my piece.
Okay. Bill Riker, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have stayed off Facebook. I think once or twice I went on and looked at the website without logging on. But that's why I don't like social media. Crazy things happen.
Yeah.
And too many of them are not good. Yeah, there are great. It's a great way to get in touch with family, see pictures of your grandkids or whatever. But it's got its downside too.
It does. Anything else, Bill?
One other
go
thing
ahead.
that occurred to me is that the people who were offended, if somehow we could point out to them that it's a tiny minority of the town that is not appreciative of their work.
Bill, I've done that. I did that with Derek, and I did that with Drew and the folks that were being attacked. But here's the thing. You can point it out, and that's fine. But it really doesn't have much of an impact, because it's like you're in a group of 10 people and only one of them is punching you in the face and the others are watching quietly. It doesn't really help. I mean, I agree with you, and that's the approach I did with Derek over and over, and I've done with Drew, but it keeps happening over and over.
Right. It may have an intellectual impact, but it doesn't have an emotional impact when you explain the situation. The emotional.
Trust me, it's very emotional right now with the fire, with not just Drew, but the other first responders.
Right. That's what
they're all offended and pissed off. You got to remember, these guys are a tight-knit group of people. So, Bill, thoughts? Any other things, or what we can do other than just get someone hired? And if we have to delay plowing, we have to delay it.
Yeah. No, I don't have any other suggestions. I agree that contracting out sounds good at first, but I'm not sure how well that'll work. And finding town employees to do it, as you pointed out, that's not really a solution either.
No, and unfortunately, those crews that you hire in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, I don't think they'll be responding here early in the morning.
Yeah.
They certainly won't be here at 4 a.m. Jim, you're on there. Your thoughts, suggestions?
Yeah, to me, the biggest problem seems to be communication, whether it's NextDoor or Facebook or a newsletter or here. Too many people aren't willing to take the time to find out what's going on, and then when they find out something that's not to their liking, all hell breaks loose. On NextDoor, is there a way that NextDoor could be monitored so when there is a personal attack, it can be taken down rather quickly?
Pam signed up to be, I got the contact information to do that. The problem is quickly is a very, very relative term because you have to go through a review process at NextDoor.
So NextDoor's got their own set of rules that kind of make it a little more difficult.
Yeah, and they don't monitor themselves. I've talked to people in Santa Fe and in Texas that have NextDoor. They say it's basically entertainment to see who's attacking whom. So I got to believe this is a problem in a lot of places with NextDoor.
Well, and it goes well beyond just the snowplow stuff, whether it's loose dogs or whatever it may be. On the issue of the snow plowing, if people had known that Drew was not any longer the maintenance man, and they knew that he was volunteering his time and squeezing it in between emergency calls, I'm sure a lot of people would have been a little bit more accepting of the snow not getting plowed right away. But nobody took the time to ask those questions. They just started to attack, and it's all that social. I would look for us to see what we can do as far as different forms of communication on issues like the snow plowing or the schedule for the road construction, the road repair work. How do we get that word out better? As Pam, or not Pam, but Pat put it, if people don't see it 4 or 5 times, they don't catch it. So that's kind of what communication seems to be very, very lacking on both sides.
Better. Yeah, we can always communicate better. We will not be able to use NextDoor. Part of the corrective action we showed Derek in the letter, and that we've told the Pueblo that so much of this goes to NextDoor, and they get social media. But we did put in the letter to say, well, the only thing we can do as an assembly to mitigate it is completely disassociate the town from NextDoor. And we committed to do that because of the problems and, quite candidly, the animosity and hatred it spews. So NextDoor is not the option. It is not a viable option. It's going to be Facebook, and if people can get on Facebook without having an account, we provide a link for it. But here's the thing, you can't communicate everything, and we have a culture here of attack first, ask questions later. And that's got to change, and that's the people in the town. I'm sorry, Jim, to interrupt, but
no, this
is, I'll be honest with you, I am still emotionally upset over this. I mean, I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm out here on vacation on a Zoom call about this issue because it is that important. It's got me pretty aggravated about the whole situation. So I'm there with you. And I'm just looking for, so what other opportunities would we have for communication vehicles? If NextDoor is not the place, everybody needs to know that NextDoor is not the place. You can go sound off on NextDoor and nobody's going to care because we're not going to monitor it, etc. That statement that I just made needs to be made clear in public to everybody that NextDoor is not the place you're going to see this stuff. Now,
no, we will not.
Yeah, some of the people, David Craig, for instance, put the information about this Zoom call on NextDoor. Fine, but people should not look to NextDoor as their source of information.
No, and the thing about NextDoor, we can't get rid of it. I mean, trust me, if we could, we would. But that's not a problem. That's not a solution. There are social media sites. Like, I know there's a number of people in town that are on Facebook groups called Santa Fe Bulletin Board.
Yeah.
And Santa Fe Bulletin Board does what NextDoor should do. It's a positive place. People post out there about dogs that have gotten lost, car thefts, that, people look out for each other, trying to find an apartment, just self-policing. Occasionally you will have someone put something nasty out there, and it's not tolerated. And they start, if people put assertions out there, people ask for facts. Give me the reference, give me the data. And we'll don't respond, and they go away because people don't like being called out on that stuff. Until this town starts developing an ability, or at least a desire to do that, to take control of it, I don't know what we do. I mean, Pam can certainly open up complaints and get people temporarily kicked off, but it's still out there for a day, and a lot of people see it in a day.
That's all.
Okay, Jim, thanks. So that's pretty much what we had agreed to do. I will ask if anybody from anyone else for the good of the order would like to say something. Just kind of send Marsha a note or hold up your hand, and we'll let you turn it over to you, let you speak. Is there anyone that would like to say something? Josie Ann, don't think we've met, but Marsha, can you unmute her? I see she's muted.
I got it. I'm
Okay.
I'm Josie Ann, and I'm really happy that you're having this meeting. I would suggest that every resident submit their email address, and that an email be sent making all announcements, instead of having, people look to Facebook or NextDoor for that. I mean, whoever's typing up the announcement, if you have a master list, then it's just as easy to email, do a mass email, than to post it on social media. As far as NextDoor is concerned, I'm telling you, this is not a problem in a lot of other communities. I have had at least 6 different places that I've lived where they have NextDoor, and it's been used, as somebody said, like the Santa Fe Bulletin Board group, it's been used to nurture and grow community.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I tell you, I have never, ever seen such negative comments. So it has nothing to do with the place or the site. It has to do with the people who are posting on it. So
100% agree.
I mean, I think that if we remove that as a means for communicating things that are going on in the community that you want to complain about, then, people won't use it for that means. If we turn to like an email where somebody can directly email someone and say, look, these dogs next door are barking like crazy, they're driving me crazy, and then it can be dealt with on a one-on-one, as opposed to just having all kinds of stuff, going out there. So I think for me, I think the email would be a really good start, just that would be the way to lodge a complaint. That would be the way to complain about something and ask someone what they can do about it. So anyway, that's my suggestion. And thank you so much for letting me bring it up.
No, thanks for bringing your opinions, and those are some good thoughts. We've looked at trying to put together like cell phone lists before for emergency notifications and email. It's actually not a bad idea if we can put a broadcast out with email supplemental to the Facebook, because we actually are getting a number of people that are interested in Cochiti Lake candidly going to our Facebook page. In fact, good thoughts. Anyone else would like to say anything?
Hi, may I say something? My name is Justin.
Sure.
I don't know
Yes.
you, Don. I know you know a different Justin. But
I'm a fairly new resident to Cochiti Lake. I moved here October 2020, and I'm pretty experienced with like the social networking and stuff like that. I do IT, been doing it for some time, and I would who is that just was that Joanne that mentioned the email list? Josiane. I would say that would probably be the best way, because the reason why NextDoor is so appealing to people is because it does this thing where it automatically puts people into said group of the neighborhood, while Facebook you kind of have to go and hunt for that stuff, and a lot of people get frustrated trying to do that with social media and things like that. But if you could just say, here's my email address, and then like something like with the change of the guard, an email goes out, kind of like the modern day phone book, I think that would make a lot of people happy, because it seems like it's one of those situations of they've signed up on NextDoor, and what's that old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. Where where they've found their way to NextDoor, they're not happy with Facebook, so it's this catch-22 where we're saying, hey, if you want to know things, you got to go to Facebook, and instead of them actually doing it, they just sit there and complain on NextDoor and yell at people. And I'm wondering if it's it sounds like it's been a thing for some time, right? With people,
it started getting bad a little over about 2 years ago. Initially, in fact, the town initially was encouraged people to get on NextDoor and using it, but about a little over 2 years, it took a really dark turn.
I'm wondering if it's like a side effect of everybody just being cooped up from the pandemic for 2 years, and people get.
Oh no, but I Justin, I wished I could say that was the truth, but before we had NextDoor, the people that would want to attack people, what they do is write it up on a sheet of paper and go to the mail room and stick it on the bulletin board anonymously, which was unsettling, but at least it was kept within Cochiti Lake. Unfortunately, with NextDoor and social media, it goes way beyond our town, and people need to understand everything that goes onto NextDoor. If it relates to the Pueblo, it goes to the Pueblo. If you say something about Peña Blanca, this will make the rounds in Peña Blanca. We have no boundaries on social media.
I think in that case, the email list would be best, because you can also set an email list to where if you email the group, it'll go to everybody in it, but people won't see other people's emails if there are those that have privacy concern, where they're like, oh, I don't want everybody in New Mexican state to see my email address. There is a way to protect their privacy.
I mean, it's something to look through. The only concern I would have, I'm just off the top of my head, is what if they do a reply all?
So if you all email providers like Gmail, Yahoo, they have this thing called BCC, which is
blind copy.
Right, blind carbon copy.
Yeah, if you were to take a list and you put it in blind carbon copy, the only person they can reply to is the person sending it. They will not see the emails, and they will not ping 300 residents.
Good to know. Good to know. Any other thoughts, Justin?
No, not really.
Okay.
For the most part, I think it almost feels like it's a couple bad apples spoiling the bunch, because for example, I had some friends from Albuquerque and Santa Fe over for a game night on Saturday, and they were very happy of like, they were driving up to my house and people were waving at them as they were driving by, and they said it was the sweetest thing that they've seen. So it's a little heartbreaking to have people view us outside of Cochiti Lake as what you said, when you come here and you're like, wow, people wave and say hello, and they're very friendly. Like, when I moved in, I met my neighbors. They were super friendly and welcoming. So yeah, I think
Justin, you're right. And as a whole, this community is a great place. But I've talked to so many people that said they got off NextDoor because of the nastiness. And then I was talking to someone just last week about why the town will no longer use NextDoor. And his comment to me was, well, yeah, I just skipped through all that nasty stuff. Well, the problem is a lot of people don't. And yes, keep going back to the old saying, for evil to prevail just requires good people to remain silent. And I think that, in my opinion, that's where we're at. The good people of this town have got to stand up and take it back. Otherwise, all you're hearing is the voices of negativity and attack.
I would agree with that, because originally when I signed up, NextDoor was by a neighbor's suggestion for the Halloween map to let people know where trick-or-treaters were. Because I had the first year had the unfortunate side effect of having 14 bags of candy and nobody coming by. Which isn't not as bad as it sounds for me, maybe for my sugar levels, but with the map on NextDoor, we got a full-on parade. So there could be good, but damn if there wasn't so much anger on there.
Yep. Anybody else? David, Craig.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Yeah. Just wanted to had two quick comments. But first of all, thanks for the assembly for having this meeting. I think it's helpful. The two comments are concerning, first of all, the road plowing. I would be good if the town had put out some kind of notice when the road plowing was starting, just to say that we're plowing the streets and here are the details. We're not going to, for example, we're going to do all the main streets, but not some of the side ones until we've done all the main street. I think the lack of the communication is most of the reason for a problem. People just don't know what's happening. So they assume things which they probably shouldn't. Okay, and the second comment you said, Don, the mayor, you said that people need to contact the employees if they have questions. Okay, so what is Drew's cell phone number?
Drew's cell phone number, I'm not going to publish. I'll refer that to Dolly. David, I've published my cell phone number quite a few times on NextDoor. A lot of people know it, and most people know someone on the assembly. So you may not, and candidly, we don't want 50 people calling Drew, but you can reach out to someone that's on the assembly or a town employee. We're a pretty small community and get it. Now, I agree, we can always improve in communication, but you cannot communicate every single thing going on in this town. People have got to start reaching out before they attack. And that's the fundamental thing. People go on there and attack people without even attempting to find out what's going on. And you know that as well as I.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, David. I'm sorry, Dave. It's hard to describe how still pissed off I am about this whole thing. You have young people coming into the town from out of town to help us, and we attack them. Not good. Anyone else? Jim? Jim Blair?
Yes, sorry, I was still on mute. On the email side of things, it seems like what I'm hearing is not everybody likes Facebook. A lot of people have gotten off. Understand that. Not everybody likes NextDoor. A lot of people have gotten off of NextDoor. Understand that. Everybody typically will stay on email, and that's a good focal point I think we can attack. But the administration of it gets to be a little tricky. If we wanted to put a Halloween map on an email that says, here's where the trick-or-treaters are, if we want to put out an email that says, okay, the snow plowing will start here based on conditions, etc., who is going to manage that, and how will that be done, and where will that be centered? And the whole administration side of the email idea, there's a lot to it that you got to think about. Everything from the BCCs to how do you get everybody's email address? So I'd like us to be aware that, oh yeah, let's just go create an email list and we're done. No, there's a whole lot more administration to managing that email concept than what meets the eye.
There is, and one of the things we ran into when we tried to get the distribution list together years ago for an emergency contact list for text messaging. Not everybody wants to participate. So the truth is there's not a one size fits all. That's why what we've been doing in the past was first NextDoor, now Facebook, but also putting things in the library, put them on the bulletin board, putting them out in the mail room. But you're never going to cover every problem. I mean, you're never going to cover every person, and you're never going to be able to communicate every single thing going on in town. If people have a question before they attack, they need to find out. Because if they're just attacking people without even attempting to find out what's going on, they're not trying to solve a problem. They're just gratuitously attacking people. But the email is something we should look in because, we learned a long time ago, and if you've ever seen me, you'll know, one size does not fit all. And there's not a one single way to communicate with everybody, unfortunately.
And Mayor Don, this is Dolly. May I speak up for a minute?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jim Blair, because Jim touched on something that I think we have to put on the table. While maybe doing an email, I'm not going to say that it's not possible. I'm not going to be negative like that. What I am going to say is it goes back to we have 2 part-time employees in town hall.
Yes.
Who are already doing double jobs and adding another piece. It's not just as simple as doing an e-blast. Jim hit the nail right on the head. There's a lot of administrative pieces that we have to look at to see if we can make it work. And we do make every effort. We do post everything on Facebook. I'm sorry if people don't like it, but that is our communication resource. We do post it in the library. We post it in town hall bulletin board. We post it under glass. An emergency that occurred, and I received a call from Drew Sunday morning, very distressed, very despairing, because he had been out all night long on calls and then started plowing at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then he saw and heard all the negativity. Now, I've been in this office almost 9 years. So I've seen a lot come and go. And I will say that we have to own it, that we are participating in negativity. And as a result of the most recent one, we have lost the resources of our fire and EMS to go out and do emergency things like that for us. And we've got nobody to blame. And because, some people, and I've heard people say this, well, yes, all the positive people, yes, and I love every one of you. But if we don't speak up against the negativity, we are part of it. And so the only way to change it is when someone does post something negative, post a positive if you can. Or say, did you call? Did you check in? Did you ask? There's so much information that's put on NextDoor that's just totally incorrect. And one of the things that I noticed recently was a comment made about how are they using town funds? Well, I can tell you that if you go to the state website and look at the auditor's report, we got 0 findings on our latest audit. That doesn't happen if there's any question at all of how funds are being managed in town. That's what I'm talking about is, wait a minute, Don, that's what I'm talking about as when you hear somebody say something like that, don't take that for face value. Say, did you check it out? Do you know that to be absolutely true? That and where's the proof that there's any misuse of money? That's just an example. That's not, we don't want to live in a place, and I'm a resident here too, 16 years. We don't want to live in a place where people are always negative and suspicious of each other. Don alluded to the I guess the flavor of the community. I got a call here several months ago that really distressed me from a resident. And this person said to me, well, I saw some people driving in town that don't look like they belong here. And I said, well, what makes you think they don't look like they belong here? And the response was, well, they were either Mexican, Hispanic, or Indian. I don't know, but they didn't look like they belong here. Now, whew, that's a horrible thing to put out there.
It is.
So
It's sad.
that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me say it.
No, but what you touched on how, in a way, this is dealt with on Santa Fe Bulletin Board. Example here. One of the ones that was on there, let's use the one that you just used. How do you know how the money's being spent? It's unfortunate because the person that put that out there was a former assembly person and he knows this. But you go to the budget hearing. Before we approve a budget, the budget, how the money's going to be spent, what it's going to be on a line item by line item basis. You go to that meeting, you will know exactly what the budget is, how it's planned to be spent. And then at the next year, as Dolly alluded to, after we go through a financial audit, and this is a financial audit with a group of CPAs, it takes a week to go through. They come in every year and go through our reviewed at the state by their audit office. Now, our last audit was 0, but you can come to the town hall assembly meeting where we review the financial audit and find out exactly what it is. And it's unfortunate because I know our former assembly person that put that out there knows exactly how to find out how the town money is being spent. But the same thing with, and I would ask people, you put that out there, well, do you not know about the budget hearing? Do you not know about the financial audits? Call them out on it. We had someone for a long time going around talking about fiscal mismanagement of the town. I would ask the person, and this is what I see on bulletin board. If there's fiscal management, ask them in detail what's being mismanaged. If they can't tell you in detail where the fiscal mismanagement is, they're making it up. If there's fiscal mismanagement, ask them, have you notified the New Mexico Department of Financial Administration? Because if we were mismanaging money, if we're doing something inappropriate, it's their responsibility to come check us out, audit us, and take action. And if they haven't contacted New Mexico Department of Financial Administration, then I would ask them, why haven't you? Isn't it irresponsible to know about fiscal mismanagement and you not report it? These people, you actually have to call them out, and then they will stop this stuff. But again, this is what people have got to start doing. They've got to start stepping up and speaking up. But thank you, Dolly. Those were good points. Okay, anyone else? Again, I'm going to be publishing what we've discussed relative to the snow plowing. And I'll put that out on Facebook, and we'll try and get the notifications out. We'll post it everywhere. And as far as the internet, NextDoor issues, Jim, do you have something else?
Yeah, I mean, do we have a next steps on the snow issue? I mean, if we get another snowstorm in a week, what happens? Nobody knows.
What we'll have the right now, unless someone has a better idea, we're going to try and get someone hired as quick as we can. If we can find someone that will do it on a contract basis, we can do it, but they have to be a town employee, or we've got to come up with something like that. And I really don't know how we do it without hiring them. And that's not a salary issue. It's, you make them an employee, and well, quite candidly, that entails health insurance and all kinds of stuff. But if we can get someone hired, then we can get someone out here working on it, and hopefully they won't be delayed too much getting out here. We've only got one candidate so far, and he doesn't live here. He lives, I believe, in Rio Rancho. So the start of the snow plowing may be delayed until he can get out here, depending upon highway conditions. And like I say, first responders, they can call me if they have a problem. I really don't know what to do beyond that, Jim, at this point. And, you know, it's so frustrating because, you know, one of the things people don't realize, we don't have an ice plow. We have a snow plow, and it's never going to remove the ice from the roads. And one of the things Drew has really been pushing us to do is to purchase a spreader to put on the back of the truck so that you can throw sand just like they do on the highways on these slick spot, these rough parts. Like, for example, the obvious one is the entrance to the burbs. I know I had to go deal with a FedEx truck that got stuck on that. Going up Huchenitsa, Barranca's a nightmare when it gets really icy. But you could prioritize them. They kind of fall in the same realm of prioritization for the traffic as well. But we'll see where we go with that. That would be the next step. And just to remind people, and Dolly re-verified it, Cochiti Lake is the only town that does residential streets. Santa Fe does not snowplow residential streets, neither does Albuquerque. I mean, this is a service we do for the community that's really above and beyond. Anything else?
Oh.
Oh, okay. Why don't we, I guess we can go ahead and terminate the meeting. This is kind of a little bit, little different forum, but unless somebody has anything else, we'll close the meeting. I will go ahead and publish something on what our interim plan is for snow plowing. And then I'm going to put something together. And quite candidly, I will not put that on NextDoor. What I will do, because so many people have gotten off NextDoor, what I will do is send a mailer to every resident in town, because quite candidly, and if we don't get this under control, this is going to affect every single resident in this town. So everybody have a great day. And thank you for joining in. Jim, have a good time out there. At least somebody's warm. At least somebody's warm.
No
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Signing
Okay.
off.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Good evening.